Hello. So I wanted to talk to you today about how being an overachiever or maybe the most productive person in the workplace, how that can negatively affect you and what you can do if it is negatively impacting you at work. So, in my own personal story, a long time ago, I worked at a mortgage company, and my job was to check for errors in the paperwork. We had a quota to meet, and the quota was up to 10,000 or more errors per day. So, if you met the top quota, you got what was called a Blue Star Award. If it was the middle, it was white, and the bottom was a Red Star Award. You got an actual certification, a certificate that you can put up in your cubicle that showed how productive you are. Now, I picked up fast. I was doing really well. Things were going really good. My boss actually gave me a raise within the first 90 days. Right after my 90 days, I actually got a raise without even having to ask for it, which is pretty much a miracle these days. And she would brag about me to her colleagues. She bragged about how I made her look good because, her department was very productive. And when you have an overachiever in your department, you typically, as a manager, want to celebrate. So the problem came when initially I wanted to move to another department. I saw that they were doing some things that we were doing in my department, but there was other things that I was looking to train in. And she did not want to allow me to move to a different department. Um, the way that the protocol was is that the immediate manager would need to approve your promotion or going to a different department. And she wouldn't even want to loan me out initially. So the other way it affected me was I would get dumped with extra work because, she knew that I was really great at my job. I got things done. I made my quota every day early. At the time, I was working, I think it was like 7 to 4. And by 2 o'clock, most of my work was done. And she knew this, so she would dump extra work on me. She would, and I noticed that the expectations kept going up because you've got this overachiever in your department and you just feel that any extra work loads, I can just give it to this person. She saw me as the person that can fix things, and of course I wanted to demonstrate that to her to show my value. And she took it like, oh, so you can do that and that too, so you could pretty much fix anything. That's the way she saw me. Instead of a growing professional, which is what I was becoming, I was trained on the job. And, these days to find a job that will train you is another almost impossible. But back then, people used to hire you based on, potential. Um, and so the expectations kept growing, the extra work kept going. The one thing that I did have on my side was that colleagues did not alienate me, which sometimes happens. They'll start to resent you and distance themselves from you when your boss is bragging about you. Luckily, that did not happen to me. Actually, what people did was they would start coming to me for questions. Now, that's a good thing in a way because I'm learning, but the downside is we have a supervisor and a manager who are getting paid for those positions. They're getting paid to answer questions, but people kept coming to me because they felt more comfortable coming to me for questions, and she sat back and allowed it because, hey, if you want to go and ask her, go ask her. And interestingly, she wasn't threatened by it. She saw it as a good thing because that's one less thing for her to have to do. My development definitely was neglected um, because I was already handling so much. They didn't see any area for which I needed growth. So, any kind of training, any type of training classes or having the opportunities to go to a different department to train, that was not offered to me. Um, I was perceived as fine and not needing any type of urgent support. And I'm thinking I'm doing great. I come in early sometimes. I would stay late sometimes. I rarely called in. I went above and beyond my expectations. And you would think that when it's time to cross train and definitely when it's time to promote, that I would be the right candidate for it. And she did everything that she could to prevent me from moving because I made her look good. And the employees are coming to me with questions, which meant less work for her. So, what what should you do if you're an overachiever or consistently exceed expectations at work in a way that makes it difficult to get cross-training opportunities or promotions? Well, first, let me go over how it can negatively impact you. You can get typecast and trapped in your role. If you're the one who fixes anything and carries impossible workloads, leaders start to see you as the role instead of a growing professional. That makes them reluctant to promote or transfer you because they're terrified of losing their safety net and star performer. You become the dumping ground for extra work. You become the default person for every urgent project or a coverage gap. And you get a lot of, can you just, can you just this one thing request? Your workload grows faster than your title, pay, authority. You start to feel burned out while your advancements stall. Expectations keep ratcheting up. What started as be of above and beyond becomes the minimum that people expect from you. And if you scale back to normal levels, you're seen as slipping, even though you're still performing better than average. That happened to me too. And sometimes colleagues, your coworkers may resent you and even distance themselves from you because they may see you as the reason why standards are unreasonably high or feel that they can't compete. And sometimes being too closely associated with a manager's success can make you a target if that manager isn't well liked. So it's like, great, you're making this manager that we can't stand look better. So next thing you know, your coworkers are they've got an attitude, and your development gets neglected because you're already handling so much. You may be skipped for training or mentoring, um, extra assignments that you would normally take so that you could be considered for a promotion. Um, your current output becomes more valuable to your boss than your long term growth. And you're perceived as fine and not urgent to support because leaders usually rush to fix underperformers. They usually want to put out fires. High performers get the least active management because they're considered no problem. So you're essentially ignored. You're good, you're fine, you're going above and beyond, so we can just ignore you. And that means less check-ins, less advocacy and um, collaborating in meetings. It means missed chances to push your name for roles. So, what can you do if you find yourself in this situation? Take a look. You want your value to go beyond your manager. So, what you want to do is make sure other leaders see you as their potential asset, not just your manager who you make look good. If you can volunteer on projects, committees, or help out in other departments where other managers can see your work directly, take that opportunity to do so. Also, share your wins with others. I used to show off my certificates that I got each month to other managers. I would brag about it uh, so that other managers can know that I'm exceeding expectations. You can send emails too, celebrating your wins, bragging about the projects or whatever goals that you achieved. You want to make that known. This will build a coalition of people who can vouch for you when you want to move. Also, talk to your manager about career planning. You can say something like, how can we plan my development toward my whatever that is, your goal, your role, your skill? Can we set up a 12-month or 18-month plan? This gives them the idea that I guess I can have this person around for about a year. And that way they can plan on what they can do, maybe working with someone else to bring that person up to potential, which isn't your problem, but still. You can straight up ask if an internal opportunity opens up that aligns with your development plan. Would you support my applying? What would I need to do to demonstrate for you to say yes? Now, it didn't work for me personally, but I was eventually loaned out to another department. One thing that did work for me was getting to know the manager of the department that I wanted to move into. And then she started to become friendly with my manager. And eventually I was able to be loaned out to the other department. I got the training. I got to actually sit in the middle of the two departments. So I sat in between both departments. I did work for each department while sitting in the middle. And that gave me the ability to learn to train in that department And interestingly, both of them ended up fighting over me. They both wanted to keep me permanently. And that was also a great place to be in. The problem is, in all honesty, is that I enjoyed working in both departments and I enjoyed being able to cross train. I appreciated that both ladies saw me as a valuable asset to the company. You can also go to HR to see if they can help. I helped numerous employees that were in my position. I helped them move, I helped them promote whenever there was a manager that was blocking that. But at the time, I was in a position to do so. So I would still work with HR. And then when you go to them, you really have to fill the room. If HR is willing to listen, you can kind of keep it real with them. But if not, you have to be strategic. And either way, try not to put it on the manager. So bring up the fact that most companies, they say that they support internal mobility. Use that policy language to help you. And if you can be honest, tell them, what's going on, but back again, just say something like, I'm a strong performer in my role. I'd like to plan a path into a department or cross train or move up or whatever your goal is. Mention the fact that our process requires a manager to sign off. I've consistently exceeded expectations, but I'm being kept in this role because I'm too good at it. I'm concerned that this is limiting my growth and and it may eventually push me to look externally, which I'd prefer to avoid. I did well in both departments, and I had certificates that substantiated that claim. And so when you are ready to talk to HR or someone about how well you're doing, you have tangible evidence. See, I made Blue Star every single month, or look at all these awards that I have for all of the work that I've done. After those conversations, I would say, okay, the last time we spoke, you said that I needed to do these things. I completed these things. Is there anything else that I need to do? And with my first manager, it really put her in a situation because now the pressure is on her to go ahead and let me move to another department, transfer. And but the ultimate goal was obviously to promote. So lastly, if all else fails, unfortunately, the only thing that's left to do is look externally. I ended up having to leave the company when I realized that she was never, ever going to let me go. She would rather me quit than to see me working in another department and maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody else was going to look good. I have no way to know her rationale or what she was thinking. I don't know, her perspective, what her viewpoint was, but um, unfortunately, she was not willing to assist me with moving permanently into another department, let alone promoting. She was at least willing to give me a little bump as far as pay, but it wasn't the amount that I would have made had I been uh, an actual supervisor, because I was doing supervisor work, but I wasn't getting paid for it. Um, so it's really great to update your resume, network, take recruiter calls, get to know recruiters. I say that all the time: get to know recruiters, so that they can get to know you as a person more than just what's on a piece of paper. Because we all know that a resume is just a summary. It doesn't tell you how you felt about the job. It is um, not something that we should wholly rely on when it comes to finding the right candidate for a position. Um, Companies are always saying that they would rather promote within, internally, explore all those options. But if they all fail, one's only course, one's only option may be that they have to uh, leave the company. And sometimes, however, when you do get an offer, you can bring that to your manager and say, I'm leaving, putting in my 2 weeks notice. Here's my offer. And sometimes they will counter offer and say, we would rather you stay here. You could say something like, I'd prefer to stay and move into, this department, but if that's not possible in the near term, I may have to consider opportunities elsewhere. Um, so if your company truly won't allow a strong performer to move without a gatekeeping manager's blessing, leaving might be the healthiest long-term choice. And that is because you don't want to waste time in this department. You don't want to spend years and years and never be able to get out. It's just a total waste of time. So you may have to explore external options, unfortunately. And unfortunately, but fortunately, I ended up having to leave, but it ended up being a great thing. So you never know. When one door closes, another opens. Thank you for watching.